All right, Ray. So we've seen that, okay, EV sales across Ford, GM, Stellantis maybe haven't been the home run that a lot of these auto manufacturers have expected, especially Ford. They're hemorrhaging money on the space. I know in this last quarter, they spent for every EV they sold about 37,500, not spent, they lost $37,500 on each EV that they sold. And I would think that a main reason for a lot of people to be going and buying a Mach-E, buying a Ford Lightning, would be some incentives coming from the government to help them buy that in the form of that $7,500 tax credit.
Yeah.
But now we see with this new administration coming in, all right, they are aiming to kill all of these incentives that are coming from the government to help people buy a lot of these EVs. So I really think that it might hurt a lot of these OEMs in a big way. All those OEMs, maybe not named Tesla, but we've seen a lot of hemorrhaging of money. I think there's probably more to come after this administration gets into office.
Yeah, I think there could be allocation of funds and where they're intended to go. I thought it was funny when you said, "Well, they haven't quite hit a home run." Um,
Yeah.
they might not even have hit a single.
Did they even get the first? I don't think they got the
Yeah,
first.
yeah. Very well, the count could be 3-2. Um, it is a struggle, to say the least, for these manufacturers who, just 3-4 years ago, when you listened to what they all thought they were going to do electric vehicle wise, and the amount of money that they intended to invest, it was upwards near $500 billion. And well, it's not like they had the $500 billion on hand. They didn't. And so many of them made the bet. Volvo was one where, we're going to be an all electric company by 2030. And today, Volvo is hedging their bets and saying, well, not so fast. Okay. They know in 2024 that they're not going to be able to make it as an all electric company by 2030 because, well, they probably wouldn't be a company if they tried to go all electric between now and then. And I think many of the other manufacturers, Ford especially, has figured out that and they have the second fastest selling electric pickup truck. The Cybertruck overtook them. But their second fastest selling electric pickup truck isn't that desirable in comparison to the Cybertruck. And the Cybertruck, I think, is truly a niche vehicle. But I'm sure anybody that has one will tell me I'm wrong. But I think it takes a specialized person to say I've got to be seen in something that big,
And that ugly.
And that well,
Yeah.
I call it the troll dolls of pickup trucks. They're so ugly you think they're good looking.
Look, and I say that, but I drive a Tesla myself. I have two Teslas. I have a S and I have a 3, and I think the Cybertruck's the ugliest thing on the road.
And they're huge. I mean, I've not that I've seen a bunch of them down here at the shore where I live, but when I do see them, I can't get over how big they are. And maybe because I drive a Mini, I don't understand why anybody needs anything quite that large. But even if I drove a regular full-size vehicle, I still can't get over why anybody thinks they need anything that large. What are you compensating for here? I mean, it is.
Nope, not going that way. Nope.
Well, I don't know. It's why does anybody think they have to spend that much money to make such a bold statement? I don't get it, but that's besides the point. The point is that those who tried to come out with electric pickup trucks prior to the Cybertruck are struggling mightily. And if incentives go away, that struggle becomes even harder. So I just I have to believe that many of these manufacturers are going to rethink and reallocate how they invest their money moving forward, especially the money they don't have, especially the money that they're losing.
So I follow Ford pretty closely. That's them, Stellantis, GM. I mean, that's really for our YouTube channel. That the big three. I mean, it's the big three for my YouTube channel. So that's who I choose to cover more than any other brand.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very surprised next earnings call from Ford for them to not come out and say, you know what, we're going to start pulling back on EVs. We've seen that from our dealers. It's not really something that is as popular as we thought. They have to put it in corporate speech saying we
Yes.
messed up. That's basically what that we messed up. This is not what people want. I would be very, very surprised. And if I was a shareholder, I would be very upset if I didn't hear this verbiage coming out of Ford saying, okay, let's put some more R&D into hybrids. That seems where a lot of people are wanting to go. And that's where we need to put more of our development, more of our production, more of our money for research. But I think that in the next few quarters, at least, we're going to see all of the big three start backing up out of the EV space, just because at least for the next 4 years, it's not really going to be shoved down consumers' throats, maybe as much as the government had wanted it to be.
Well, think of it this way: if we figure that there'll be 16 million new vehicles sold in the United States in 2024, and let's be generous and say that 10% of those will be EVs. Well, that'll be 1,600,000 EVs. Seems like a large number until you realize that, I don't know, 14.4 million were other powertrains. So it seems to indicate to me that EV adoption, even though it's happening, the pace of it happening has slowed tremendously. And I know every EV manufacturer, oh yeah, but the sales are up. You know, if sales might be up, but they're not up to where you needed them to be. They're not up to where it justified everything that you've invested to get to where you're at the moment. So that, yes, I think they're all going to have to say, we're in it to win it with EVs. We're just not in it to win it with EVs by 2030 or 2035. We're in it to win it with EVs for however long it takes to get there. And if that takes 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is, well, yeah, do that, because I think we're going to continue to see the preference, especially here in the United States, the preference for internal combustion engine vehicles of some kind.
Yeah, I wanted to pull this up because this actually surprised me. This is higher than I thought it would be.
Okay.
But the share for new vehicles purchased in the U.S. In 2024 that were EVs is 8.9%, and this
Okay.
is right at a percentage point over where it was last year. But the reason why I wanted to pull that up is because I knew it would still be a very, very small number, and I think a lot of people who are EV truthers, who are Tesla fanboys, whatever, that they're going to be surprised at seeing a number like that. Just because it's still a very low percentage of the actual vehicles that are sold across the U.S. right now. And if you pull up for global, I think it's like 18%. So it's 10 percentage points higher. So it has grown way faster in other countries than it has here. And a lot of that has to do with the government that's associated with it too. I know in the UK, I've got a buddy who is a car dealer. He does stuff on YouTube too, but their government are very, very, very EV friendly, so much to the point where they're putting extra taxes on gas vehicles that are being sold from car dealers. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of this push is going to come from the administration. And when you have an administration who is not so EV friendly, like what we're coming up into, I think you're going to see this number. I would say at least plateau. I would be surprised if it didn't get rolled down just a little bit, because you're going to have companies like Ford who are not going to be putting out as many EVs as they had, because they're not going to get that kind of help from the government. I mean, $7,500 on a brand new car, that is a lot of money.
Yes.
And it might be the first thing that is wiped away when Trump gets into office. I would assume it's probably going to be the first thing that's gone.
Yeah. No, I think you're right to suspect that. And I listen. You see your comments in your YouTube videos, and I see the comments in the YouTube videos that I've been involved in, and the amount of vitriol that I see in the comments against EVs far outweighs the amount of complimentary comments I see about EVs. At least those who watch what we do tend to be, I don't know if they're typical or if they're atypical, but they tend to be anti EV based on the amount of comments that we get. That people are just, the vast majority of the commenters I see are just not ready to make that move to EVs. They haven't been convinced. They are still 100% certain that the infrastructure isn't there to support it. They are 100% certain that EVs have the potential for fires more so than internal combustion engine vehicles or hybrids, when in fact, hybrids have the highest percentage of fires, vehicle fires, out of the three of them. So until the public is convinced that it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg. So what came first, the infrastructure or the EVs? And right now it's the EVs and not the infrastructure. And until that script is flipped and people see the infrastructure everywhere and wonder where the hell all the EVs are, I don't think Americans in great number are going to be willing to make that shift. So I don't know. I'm sure you see it in the comments that you get.
I do. I want to put a caveat on that, though. So I just pulled up my demographics, and me and Zach, who runs Car Edge and their YouTube analytics and is Ray's son, we share our analytics, and they look almost identical. But I
Mhm.
can show you that. We'll see here: 19 plus 22, that's 42. Plus another 22, that's 64, plus another 22 almost. That is 84.
86.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 86% of our viewers are 35 years and older. And if you get down a little bit more, 66% of our viewers are 45 years and older. So the reason I pull that up is because our demographic tends to be an older demographic for YouTube. So, yes, it's absolutely true that we see more negative EV comments than we do positive
Yes.
comments. But the EV technology is a new technology, and if I can what's the word I'm looking for? If I can infuriate most or not all of our viewers that are watching this right now, you people are old, and you old people do not like change, and you don't like things that are different than what you already know, and EVs are different than what you already know. I know this because I have what I call grandpa syndrome, and I don't want anything to change. I don't want to try anything new. And I get it. I worked with my grandfather for years and years and years. Love my grandfather to death. But if there was anything changed about anything that we were doing, he would lose his mind. I get it. Don't like change. It's harder for older people to adapt to change, and this is going to bring in negative things about EVs, which are new. So I just wanted that whole statement, 100% true with what Ray said, but I want to put the background behind it too. Our viewers are mostly older. If you go to a channel like Farzad's one of Ray and I's friends, and he covers the EV space, and in my opinion, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, at doing it. His comments are going to be completely flipped, and he has a younger demographic that watches what he puts out.
Yes.
And it's going to be mainly positive things about EVs, while our channels are different. So you just have to know that that doesn't represent all of the population. But I will say, Ray and I, we get our main channels, we get more views than Farzad does. So maybe we do represent the majority of the population.
I understand. I understand that our viewership skews older and male. I get that.
Yeah.
And I also understand that most people, regardless of age, are resistant to change. I've worked in enough organizations to know that anytime you wanted to change something, most people that worked there were against it. People like the status quo. They don't want to have to learn something new. They don't want to have to leave their comfort zone and get uncomfortable for a while until they get comfortable again, only to see, well, damn it, they're going to change it again just when I was getting comfortable. So yeah, I get all that. But I also get that the people we appeal to, and a lot of them are boomers, and I am one of them. A lot of them have the money to actually spend in order to be able to be in the market for a car.
And that's so important.
What?
I said, and that is so important because they're the only ones that have the money.
Yes. So that is important. So those who actually have the money are saying, I don't want to spend it on an EV. And it could be because I'm resistant to change. Whatever the reason is, they're the ones that are saying, I don't want to spend it there. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a percentage of us older folks that are early adopters to different things, because there are. But I just think that if those who can actually afford to participate in the market are telling you that's not the stuff I want, well, then damn it, as the manufacturer, it's incumbent upon you to build what it is that I'll spend my damn money on. I call me silly, but that's who we appeal to, I think.
And I want to pull this up real quick because I thought this was interesting. So Toyota had it right when others were looking at them crazy to go hybrid only. So do you ever imagine? I see like Toyota's board or Toyota's CEO reading a lot of these headlines and seeing how much Ford is losing on every EV they sell, and just smirking or just patting themselves on the back, saying, yeah, we kind of figured this was going to happen, and you might as well just make it while you're doing well. Why change some stuff? Just let everybody else figure it out for you, and then you can figure it out.
Well, I think they were smart enough to know, or someone there was smart enough to say, this could be a fad, and we shouldn't just jump on a fad. Let's play a longer game. And it's not as if Toyota hasn't been trying to develop electric vehicles. They have been. They want to produce electric vehicles that utilize solid state batteries. So nobody's ever been able to do that yet to the degree that it would be needed in order to make it worthwhile. But those batteries would give you longer range. And so that's what they've been working on for years. Okay. So it's not as if they weren't betting on electric. They were betting on something slightly different in electric than others were. And while they were making that bet, they were thinking hybrid. And I've often called the hybrid the bridge to get people from ICE, internal combustion engine vehicles, to full battery electric vehicles. And it seems as if Toyota was on to something, and all the other manufacturers are going, yeah, we want to get on that train now. They're all trying to get on the hybrid train now. So I just think they looked at it slightly differently and a tad bit more cautiously than many of their competitors.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. All right, you might not know this, but this is a brand new channel, and you know what we need for you to do? We need you to subscribe, because if you're watching this, I can see the numbers. You're not subscribed, so just hit that button for us. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it really helps us out. All right, well, we have to get to some automotive news, but
Okay.
before we do that, I'm not going to talk about that at all right now. So this past week, Alex, my mechanic, he took some days off. Sometimes he takes some days off, and sometimes I allow him to take some days off.
Okay.
And he chose to take some days off. And the problem with that is that he, since I have started this YouTube thing, has been in charge of buying our cars.
Yes.
So if he's not there, then someone else has to do it. And I haven't been able to train my wife to do it quite yet.
Okay.
So I had to do it. And just like every time he is out and I have to go to the auction, it poured and it rained and it was so cold outside and it was absolutely miserable. And if Alex wasn't here to buy cars, I might not choose to be a car dealer ever again. And it's that bad. I dislike so much going to the auction now. And here's the worst part about it. I went through, and this is one of the smaller auctions we go to, and it had like 125 cars. Went through all the cars, checked them all out. I had 2 cars on my list. At that point, it's not even worth going to the auction to maybe buy these cars.
Yeah.
So I went into the auction and saw my 2 cars go through, and I wasn't even close. I was like $2,000 off on both these cars. Yeah. They just, I mean, they were the best cars in the price range that I want to spend the money on. And there are other guys that buy the same kind of stuff as me, and they just were willing to pay more than I was. So that's what happened. So naturally, I left with 5 cars that were not on my list.
Yeah.
So we haven't got those cars back to the shop yet, but I'm going to blame whatever problems and whatever things that Alex's
fault.
Yeah, Alex has to fix on these cars. It's his fault, because really at the end of the day, he shouldn't have taken any days off anyway, right?
Well, not even knowing what the arrangements are for Alex. If he understands that you don't like going to the auction anymore, then Alex gets no. I mean, he can have Thanksgiving off. He can have New Year's Day. He can have Christmas. What more does he need? He's in the car business, for goodness sake.
We don't even do Thanksgiving. Yeah, we make them work on Thanksgiving.
Do you really?
No, that's not accurate. I don't like Thanksgiving as a holiday, and that's my opinion. I don't want to.
Time you got for this topic?
Yeah, I had a big family as a kid, and I was an only child, so I had my personal space that I always liked to have. And my big family would come over to our house every Thanksgiving, and then my personal space would be destroyed by all my cousins who were not interested in having their own personal space. So that just left me with a great feeling of Thanksgiving for the rest of my life. And I don't like it.
So you don't celebrate it?
No, we do. It's just I go sit in the corner and I pout the whole time. Isn't that what Thanksgiving means?
Define celebrate. I don't know if I would call it celebrating. He is present for what I want to go to for my family,
Yeah.
and then he chooses for his family.
Yeah, we have voided my family's Thanksgiving. So I
Okay.
still love them. I talk to them all. They just know that I'm not coming to eat cold turkey. And speaking of Thanksgiving, turkey is the worst of the meats. So I mean, you have to saturate it in gravy for it to be not so dry that you can't eat it.
And your point? What's wrong with that? I would bathe in gravy if I could. Come on.
I'll probably would too. I can't believe there are 252 people listening to this right now.
I know. Let's not talk about Thanksgiving anymore.
All
He
right.
gets really upset, Ray.
I'm done with Thanksgiving.
Okay.